Hey, what's up guys, my name is Charlie. Today we're going to be doing some more requested reaction videos, and this video is requested by Wolverell12, and it's going to be Game Collection by Scott DeWoz. Oh boy, is he going to show us his massive bloody game collection? Dear God have mercy. Yeah, let's see what this video is all about, shall we? Let's go.
Scott here, holding a gobble.
A gobble.
It's Wednesday, alright.
The
You know,
hell
it's
is
moments
that?
like this that really makes me appreciate collecting video games. Like, where would I be without that? Hey y'all, Scott here. Where the f*** is Gubble? Buying video games is my #1 favorite pastime. Playing them is a close
It's a lot of games.
Having just a big fat wall of all things lonely
Yeah,
is so
I used to have that
satisfying.
sort of amount of
Being able
games.
to walk in here and have endless entertainment at your disposal while also having stories and memories linked to each and every piece of your collection. See, I think a lot of people have that mentality, even if they're just casually buying games. But I think things truly get serious when you really care about the condition of your minute to win it case. Face it, you're a video game collector.
I used to be.
No! And game collecting isn't the worst hobby to get into. I mean, think about it. You could spend $60 a week on a game you may or may not play. Or you could be a fan of Homicide. Things could be worse. Now, do I get joy out of the fact that I have this many games and I've only played like 2 of them? Well, I have intentions to play through the majority
Fear,
of these
Far
games.
Cry,
But at the very least, giving
Fallout,
them all a try.
Cyber.
I made miraculous progress with that. I played through a game and there we go. Check this one off the list and then I buy Monsters Inc. for PlayStation 2. I'm never going to get through these, aren't I? But that's the beauty and horror of video game collecting. There's no true end to it. There's subsets of things to collect. You can collect all the games for one console or collect all the variations of a console in general. You can make sure you have all the boxes, all the games in a certain series, or just collect the games you're interested in. There's no true right or wrong way to collect video games.
Yeah.
I may consider those who throw away the cases and keep the discs in a binder to be Stalin 2.0, but that's how they want to do it. They don't
Yeah.
affect me in any way at all. Game collecting doesn't necessarily have any rhyme or reason to it.
I don't like
It
it when
just sort of
people do that.
happens.
Keep 'em
One
in
day
the
you're hanging
case
out with Brink,
with the
7 years
manuals.
later, what happened to me? And I will say this, game collecting does quite a bit to a man. You save all your game boxes for collecting purposes, and then when you buy a hairdryer, oh man, should I save the packaging? But I wouldn't have an entire room look like this if I didn't enjoy it. So let's talk the ins and outs of the hobby. And for me, it all started on that fateful day in 2013 when I looked at my copy of Forza 3 and said, I'm keeping this. It was a big moment. I haven't played it since. I'd say my fascination with gaming and the history of the medium started back in 2008, and it wasn't until 2013 when I decided against selling my current games in order to fund buying
I think for
new
me it
ones.
was
Trading in games was the way of life
2005.
for a while, but I
started
said no,
collecting.
I want to start hoarding. Video games, in my opinion, are things that deserve to be collected more so than many other forms of media. You can experience pretty much every movie ever made in the best way possible by just owning them all on a flash drive. The same can be said for music and books. Sure, enthusiasts prefer experiencing them in more unconventional ways, like listening to vinyl records or reading the first print edition of a novel. But video games are a completely different story to me. These are much more complex pieces of entertainment that require
Resident
specific
Evil
hardware.
6.
You
God,
almost
that
have to
game
own the original
sucked.
physical releases and the original hardware they were designed
I
to
can't
be
get
played
the
on to
bloody
the full
giraffe
experience, or just the
blowjob
experience at all.
out
This
of
film
my
is not
head
nearly
every
as
time
well
you look at
preserved
the
as
Resident
others,
Evil
and
6
I think
logo.
it's screaming to be.
It's a
The
guy
idea
blowing
that
off a
all these
giraffe.
consoles will one day die out on
Jesus.
us and these discs will eventually rot away or these cartridges will just stop working, it really makes me feel like collecting games is more important than collecting other things.
Bimmy and Jimmy.
I feel much more inclined to collect and
Just
almost
popped
try
in
to
my head.
preserve these myself. Sure, old games are re-released on modern platforms all the time and fans rip the game files and pop them online for people to download. These games get preserved in one way or another. But there's something about playing a game on the original console with the original controller, having
Of
the
course,
original case and
it's
artwork
the real
and manual, plus
experience.
having a lot of these games on a bookshelf looks fun, so I bought more. I think going online and seeing all these game room tours and collection overviews people would post made me really
it's the
want
real
that for
McCoy
myself.
when you play
Every
it on the
week I'd
original
head to the
console.
retro game store closest to me and buy whatever caught my attention, and, get this, was also dirt cheap. That's why my game collection at the start consisted of Wheel of Fortune and Nigel Mansell's World Championship Racing. When I found this, it was a Super Nintendo game in the box, and it was $2. I'd be an idiot not to buy that, right? You don't have to say right back, I knew you were thinking it. I think the idea of just enjoying buying these games, regardless of their value, kept collecting from ever getting stale for me. I feel like if you're only interested in collecting the expensive stuff because they're expensive, the motives to collect feel much more hollow. It doesn't feel like you want
Don't
to
just
own a
collect
game because it's a
expensive
game you
stuff.
won or you
Collect the
think it's
stuff you
cool. It
want
feels
the
like you
most,
only
not
want it
just 'cause
because of
they're
its monetary
expensive.
value. Like, I remember when I went to a retro game store for the first time. This was my first experience seeing a Super Nintendo cartridge for sale. It was literally so cool seeing it, and I don't know why. The label was much smaller than I imagined. It was in great condition, and it was $20, the exact amount I had in my wallet. I didn't buy it. I didn't have a Super Nintendo at the time. Why would I? This was
Wow.
back in 2009, 2010 or something, and when I was starting to get actively interested in retro video games. The Super Nintendo was always seen as the greatest system of all time, and seeing Super Mario All-Stars on a shelf really resonated with me, and I've kind of had that mentality with collecting ever since. It's cool to see this stuff in person, regardless of what it is or how much it costs. I usually always value the history of these games and what they represent, even if there's barely much to them. I of course think it's cool to own rare and valuable titles, but that's not exactly what I'm specifically out here to do.
I wanna collect
I like
them
buying
again.
games that I can actually see myself
Oh,
playing
Metal
and
Slug,
enjoying,
whatever
or
that
games
game
that
was.
were prolific titles in that console's
Slug
library.
Metal Slug,
Basically,
whatever it was.
I buy games I'm legitimately interested in. But then there's this stuff that's just
Friends.
so
Oh, dear God.
stupid. I love them. I buy what I like. Of course, I feel there are certain games that are a must-have for any video game collector, but just because a game's value is worth $1, it doesn't mean it's inherently less valuable to me personally than a game that's worth $10. I think that keeps the experience of collecting far more enjoyable and more fulfilling. When I was first starting to collect games, I kind of just went with
BioShock.
what I could afford, but also still wanted.
Battlefield 3.
That meant filling out the Xbox 360 and Wii libraries alongside the nosebleeds of NES games. Yeah, Ghostbusters, one of my first NES games. I had a couple of quarters left over in my
Ghostbusters.
cart. But as time went on, the collection started to fill out. Every now and then I picked up the must-have games any game collector needed if they were available at a store I was visiting and at a reasonable price, and 7 years later, can you tell I'm not Amish? I have been more than happy with my collection for a few years now, probably ever since 2017, 2018.
I need to start
that I
collecting
really wanted
again.
back when I started. Plus nearly all the North American Wii U games. Yeah, I'm one of those guys. Of course, there's always going to be stuff I want that I don't have, but at this moment, I have most of the stuff that I
Don't need.
and that, of course, means
Don't really
everything
need
I
all
add to
those
this
games,
collection from
but
this
they're
point
just
forward
good for
kind of
collecting.
feels like
Oh, Bubsy,
overflow.
whatever the hell this
None of
game
this was
was.
ever necessary to own. Everything I bought
the
this year so
PS1.
far is the definition of unnecessary to own. That's a problem many collectors have once
Golden
they've been
Axe.
doing this for a while. Many have a desire to cut
Christ, I
back.
used to play the
I don't really
shit
have
out of
an
that
urge
game.
to do that though. I
Mega
feel like
Man.
that happens when you buy like sacks of games online to get an overall better deal. The idea behind that is you'd be spending overall less on each game by buying in bulk, and you'd be getting multiple games to fill your collection out. The thing is, I never really did that because I kind of liked buying each game separately. I bought most of these games because I deliberately wanted to own them. When you buy 50 NES games on eBay because you wanted one of them and the other 49 are just going to be filling your collection, yeah,
The
you're
Karate
probably
Kid.
getting a better deal,
Oh,
but I
God.
feel like it's more likely to feel disconnected from your library this way. And of course I've bought a few lots before, and because of that I keep forgetting I own some of these. Come on, Missile Command on Game Boy Color? My collection has standards, I swear. That's another issue. Forgetting you own some games. When you get to a point in your collecting habits, you may accidentally buy Bloodstone twice. That's why some collectors create a spreadsheet or use a service to catalog their collection. See, I
Wow.
randomly get the urge to do this sometimes. I list all my games once and then I never update it. It makes collecting seem more like a job than a hobby, and that's no fun. I just do this because I love games, but for some reason, many people look at collecting as if it's a skill. Like if anybody ever asked me, oh wow, how did you achieve all this? I spent money.
Yeah,
See,
that's what you
people
have to do,
always
spend a
questions
lot of
about
cheddar.
the game collecting experience. So, might as well enter the first chapter.
Oh boy, I really
Where
should
do
start
I
collecting
begin?
again.
I hear way too many people ask, how do I get into collecting? What the hell kind of a question is that? Just do it. How do you complete transactions? Okay, that will be $10 for Donkey Kong? What the f*** do I do? Do you really think this was all strategized? No, I just bought games and didn't sell them for 7
House
years.
of the Dead.
I think something a
I
lot
saw
of
that
aspiring
right
collectors
there.
ask, though,
Watch Dogs.
is what to collect first. I got started just collecting for the systems I owned at the time. The Wii, 360, Wii U, GameCube, 3DS, DS. Whenever I see
Yep,
people
I
ask
had all
others,
those.
where do I get started with collecting? Why do
Apart
you
from
want
the
to be
3DS.
this? If anybody
At the
ever
Nintendo
answers with,
DS.
oh, the NES, you gotta start with the original NES or any other console.
But what about the Sega?
Well, why? What if this person doesn't care about that system at this time? If they think they have to collect for a specific system they may not care about to truly get into collecting, that's not necessarily fun
No,
for them.
I would like to
for
collect all the
systems you like
PS1
the
games.
most, the systems you have at this exact moment. It doesn't matter if the general consensus is
Doesn't matter,
collecting Xbox
console.
One games is for
Collect what you want.
pussies. If that's the system you own and you're passionate about it, there's no reason why that shouldn't be the first console you start collecting for. And as time goes on, you'll probably end up expanding to collecting more things and appreciating consoles and libraries you may not have cared about
Or
initially.
Nintendo 64,
I can tell you back in
collect those.
2013, I never expected in a million years I would have owned Glover. Look at me now. I feel like there's this notion that game collecting has to be this way or that way or
So,
whatever.
Fallout
It's
New
just not
Vegas,
the
I believe.
case. You collect what you're interested in regardless of how old, how new,
Which is
how
good.
expensive, or how cheap it is.
Fallout 3 and Fallout New
When
Vegas.
you're able to collect, write that down. Alright,
The
if we're
best
collecting
sort of
new games, keep this in mind. If
Fallout
you want the
games.
most bang for your buck, getting games
'Cause
as
Fallout
cheaply
4
as
sucked.
possible throughout the year, make sure
I
to
didn't
study
like it.
prices on games on shopping websites and all the deals in general. You will start to notice patterns. how a lot of multi-platform games on
Resident Evil 3,
PlayStation and
Doom
Xbox
Eternal.
consoles drop in value
I've
fairly
got those.
quickly. The games will go from $60 to $30 just like that. Exclusive titles on these platforms may take slightly
Gods
longer to
of
go on
War.
sale, but a lot of the times they'll get
Oh,
permanent
God of
price
War,
cuts
not
around
Gods
a
of
year after
War.
release.
What did
And
I
then
say, Gods
Nintendo
of
games
War?
never go on sale, you might as well buy them now. I mean, it happens, but not nearly as much as the other consoles. I just think it's worth it to follow a few gaming deals-oriented websites, checking them out from time to time. You'll eventually gain an understanding of how and when video game prices go down. It may also be worth it to join some store memberships.
God,
Many of
Doom
them
is
are
so
free, and you'll get
fucking
rewarded
good.
for being an idiot with money. Now, of course, current generation titles are more than likely easy to come by for you. You can easily ransack a Best Buy to grab them, but what about the fossils? Of course, if you're in the market for games over 15
Oh,
years old, you may
Christ,
experience some
that
roadblocks.
bad.
Retro games aren't easily found at stores like Walmart and Target. I mean, sure, you have the coveted PlayStation 2 game that's been on the shelf for 40 years, but you should never buy them. Nobody will ever buy them. That's their shtick. That's where the specialty shops and online harassment show their faces. Look up retro game stores near you. If you have some, great. Let's
Yeah,
pray
I
they
don't-
actually have good
we
prices.
don't have any
If you don't have any
game
stores near you, look up the games you
shops
want on
around.
eBay. Let's pray they actually have good prices. I've gone to
No.
a fair share of retro game stores in my day. and
eBay
they vary
prices
quite a
are
bit in terms of
ridiculous.
quality.
They always
There was
sell
one
the
that I
game
went to
overpriced.
that was incredible. They had
They're always in the
every game you could
hundreds.
have possibly asked for available. Tons of displays and playable
So-
kiosks.
Star Wars
collectibles
Knights
were
of the Old
everywhere, new
Republic
things
there,
around
I saw.
every corner. They were asking $10 for Rock Band game only. When I went to buy a few things, the cashier told me, "Oh yeah, we're all about the collectors here," and proceeded to stamp the game disc for some bullshit warranty service. What the hell are you doing? But at least the store was a spectacle. Even if the prices were garbage, it was cool to check out. But then you have the stores that have absolutely nothing going for them. Inventory isn't in their vocabulary. What, they have like 20 games for sale and the prices are all god-awful? The 20 games they have for sale may even be in terrible condition, and the 20 games for sale are all Nigel Mansell. I mean, I'm happy I own this. I don't need to be happy 20 more times. But if you dig deep enough, you're sure to find a retro game store that has a perfect balance of quality, quantity, and decent prices. But for some people, that's just not good enough. They won't settle for decent prices. They want people to pay them to buy a game. Well, the only way you're going to potentially experience that are flea markets and garage sales. Synonyms for disappointment. I have gone to so many flea markets and garage sales because you hear these stories of literally buying lots of 50 of the rarest SNES games for a quarter. So many people find amazing things there.
Yeah,
I
I
found
bet.
a PS3 for $5. I found a Sega 32X for free. I found my wife. But whenever I go to these, it's not only totally up in the air if video games are even going to be available,
It's
but if
a
they're worth my
one in a
time at
million
all. Who knows? Probably
find
not. I went to a garage sale where this
a rare
12-year-old
game
kid
at
was
a
selling
garage.
Wally on Wii for $20. That was the best deal I've ever seen at a garage sale. Of course, you need to do some serious research and planning to walk away from one of these with a good haul. When researching garage sales, you can see if they specifically mention video games in their descriptions. And flea markets, you just have to show up incredibly early because there's a good chance if you show up later in the day, if there were good games there, they were already bought by the scalpers. People who buy as many games as they can, not because they want them, because they want to resell them for above market value.
Oh,
I wouldn't say these
yes.
people are the scum
Oh,
of the
those
earth, but really, I've
fuckers.
taken history classes. There were some bad people out there. Scalpers are probably okay people, but they make things kind
Yeah,
of worse for people
this
who
is
want
what's
things.
happening
I'm not
during
looking at the guys
COVID-19
selling all
as
these
well.
consoles saying, "Oh, you
Everyone's
probably
buying all the
accidentally got a lot
toilet
of doubles
paper
for
and selling it
Christmas." That's
online
why
for
if you
twice
desperately
the
want
amount than it's
something,
worth.
you have to wake up
$50
early
for a
and
fucking
sometimes
little
call in
tiny
some
hand
favors. That's a
sanitizer.
thing you have to get used to as a collector.
And then Nintendo
Asking
Switches.
people about video
Good luck
games,
trying to
or if
fucking
they
find
have video
one.
games they don't want anymore. Back in the day, I was petrified at the
Switches
thought
are
of telling people even knew what the word
selling
Nintendo
expensive
was. I
'cause
didn't
they're all
want
out of
people
stock.
knowing I was a... Now I'll
Fucking
gladly tell
dope.
you about Mario and Wario on the Super Famicom, I don't care. It used to be pretty difficult for me to express myself about my interests back then. I had this feeling that people would look down on me for knowing so much about video games.
There's
I
nothing
didn't
wrong
wanna
with
look like
that.
a loser in high school.
That is
Over Nike
cool.
socks and use Axe body spray, damn it, I'm cool, I swear! Now who cares, it doesn't matter, look at me, do I look like I don't do this? Now you can avoid all this human interaction
That was,
by just
Zelda
heading
the
on
Wind
over to
Waker
eBay
earlier,
or other
we just
online
saw.
sites. The great thing here is that whatever you want, you can just look up and boom, there's all of them being sold. No trying to find it in the wild, no asking cashiers if they have any copies of Rocket Knight Adventures and they respond to you, "Wow, aren't you a little young to care about such old games?" To that I say, "How little do you think of me? I know what I'm about." Yeah, you don't have to go through that. All you have to do is give your keyboard an aneurysm, find exactly what you want, either bid on it or buy it now. It's tolerable, but I'm not alone with this one. I still prefer buying stuff at a store. No, it's wild. I thought online shopping was the way of the future, but buying games at a store makes it less likely things are going to get broken during shipment or not look the same as their pictures or something. It's
Yeah,
way easier
true.
to get scammed
You
online.
get to
But some stores may
personally and
sell things
physically
for
feel
higher
it and touch it
prices.
and see it.
But in a lot of cases, I find
Resident
the extra
Evil
money
2,
I'd spend
GameCube,
at a
oh
brick
yeah.
and mortar store would be worth it, considering I can see the game in front of me. I can physically hold it. The store may
Hmm.
even let me test the game out to know 100% if it works. eBay, you may get a deal, you may not. And I think that's the
It's a
core thing
gamble.
stopping stopping many from getting into collecting.
And the price
The
is
money.
always
Some
high.
people just don't have Glover bucks, and that's perfectly respectable. See, I got into collecting when all I had going on was high school and a minimum wage job. You ever just go to high school, go home, and have nothing better to do? Yeah, that's high school. I didn't have much to spend my money on other than video games, so a good bulk of this stuff was built up during that time. But I still preferred going for a good
See,
handful
James
of
and Mike
cheaper
played this
games I
game.
wanted
I can't
rather than
remember it was
blowing my
Slim Jim or
entire
something like that. I
paycheck on
can't
one sort of
remember.
expensive one. Well, it's no doubt cooler to have a rare and expensive title in your collection. I find it's important to see value in the valueless. Hey, my collection wouldn't be complete without personal trainer walking. Want to know how much I paid for it? You know, it's rude to ask people what their salary is. But while I find joy in the things I collect regardless of the value, that's another thing that really depends on the type of person you are and the type of games you want to collect. You may want to go for the cheapest games possible or only splurge on a few select costly ones.
I think
But
I
what
only want to
dictates
choose the games
prices of these
I
games
want the
is
most,
demand. I
the
took
ones
intro to
I
business
want to
in high
play,
school.
not the games
Demand
that I
is what
don't know
primarily
all
drives the
about.
pricing of the game collecting market. If a lot of
Like
people want
Turok
something
for the
that is in
Nintendo
more limited
64, I'd
supply,
start
the price is
collecting
gonna
that.
reflect that. The demand and
And
pricing
Turok
for games
Seas
and
of
consoles
Evil.
vary all the time, and you can mostly draw conclusions as to why certain things are expensive and why others are a plague. You may think the older and rarer games are the more pricey ones. That's the funny thing, no. Take a look at the consoles prior to the NES. Sure, of course there are some expensive titles, and finding working systems will cost you a pretty penny just to play this, but Atari and Television, ColecoVision, these aren't in nearly as high demand as the other games. Most of the people who grew up with these things already got nostalgic over them and rebought them years ago. The collectors who collect these things already did. There's not a lot of people becoming strictly Intellivision collectors nowadays. And considering most of the titles here don't hold up very well and aren't a part of major franchises still getting games to this very day,
I remember this game.
these games aren't skyrocketing in value
When you turn
anytime
into
soon.
Meatwad.
When we move on to the NES, SNES, Sega Master System, Genesis, Game Boy, this is where collecting gets a bit more competitive.
So many
Demand for these
consoles.
games are far higher because
And you gotta choose what
they're
you
Nintendo
want.
and Sega. They still make games, particularly Nintendo. These games are always relevant because Nintendo's always relevant, and many of the most beloved and revered game series of all time got their start on these consoles or in this era in general. Because of that, these games do hold their value. However, people who grew up with these systems primarily got the nostalgia bug for them around 2010 or so, and thus prices haven't really come down on them, but they aren't necessarily shooting up. But then we move on to Nintendo 64,
Nintendo
PlayStation,
64,
Sega Saturn, Dreamcast,
PlayStation,
GameCube,
yes,
PlayStation 2. These
GameCube,
prices
oh,
keep
baby.
going up. And in my opinion, that's
Music to
because
my
the
ears.
people who grew up with these consoles are getting to the age where they're feeling nostalgic over
Yeah.
them. They want to experience these games again. Couple that with the fact that these games don't get re-released on newer consoles all too much, and the only
And
true
not
way
only
to play a
that,
lot of
because the
these
games are actually
is by
fucking
tracking down
playable
original
and
copies,
fun.
And we have ourselves a reason as to why Mario Party 6 costs the same as a brand new video game.
You know, you're gonna
And
play
then there's the original Xbox. The joke
the
of the collecting world.
new
This is literally
Ninte-
one of the cheapest
Nintendo
quality
games
libraries to
over
collect
the
for. Original
Atari
Xbox stuff
games.
is dirt cheap. And for some reason, not many people want this stuff. I notice many collectors get
Xbox
peeved when
original
others
Halo.
bring light to unappreciated games, and because of that, their value skyrockets. And I never understood that mentality. Yeah, sure, you'd have to pay more for the game now, but that shows that there's money in the retro game market. Because of that,
is,
more stores can open up. You
Bomberman,
have more
I
members of the
believe.
collecting community now. You just have to pay $10 more to own a game. Suck it up. Understanding the general value of games, what certain games should be priced at, all that is integral to not getting treated like a fucking idiot by the seller. I
Castlevania.
recommend going to price starting websites to see the
I've already
average
been there.
value of certain titles. and
I've
just
looked
going
at a
out
couple
there to
games on
stores
that
to
site,
get a
but it's
whiff
so
of what prices
it's really
generally are.
expensive.
But we're talking used games here. You could be one of those creeps who never opens any of their games. That brings us to the condition of the games you want to collect. Yes, I personally don't want to get to the point where I know the
I don't
difference
really
between plastic
kinda
seals
care
on video
about
games, but if we're gonna go through the basics,
the quality,
we have to
as
know.
long as it works.
This is how you get on a list. So some people only collect sealed video games. They don't open them. I mean, sure,
Yeah,
I'm not one to
don't be
criticize your own
silly.
stupid fucking hobby, but why? I mean, having a couple sealed games, sure.
Yeah,
I own a
but-
few, but the only reason why I don't open them is when I don't really have a reason to. Like, I own Breath of the Wild on Nintendo Switch. I wanted the Wii U version because it's a neat little collectible thing, but I can already play the game. Why would I need to open this?
Yeah,
Or if I
don't-
own the digital release
don't
of a
buy,
game and end up buying a physical copy,
you know,
sometimes I just don't open it.
unsealed.
I've gotten more open
It could be
happy
fake
as
as
the years
well.
have gone by.
People can
My
fake
stance
them
is,
easily.
I have no intentions on selling this in the future. Why not open it? But people who never open any of their games,
I mean, the-
don't get them.
the game
There are
couldn't
these
even be in
organizations
there.
that
It
grade
could
the
be a
quality
fake
of your video
disc.
games and how well they're sealed and
How
all
would you
that.
know? You'd
I
never
will never
opened it.
submit anything to them. I don't need confirmation I'm a fucking loser. I don't need to be reaffirmed how much I didn't open my copy of Luigi U. On the exact opposite side of that, people who collect games and store them like this What's the goal here? What's the point of collecting games if you're not going to take good care of them or flaunt them in a respectable manner?
Yeah.
I hate storing games like this.
Yeah,
It's
that's
a pain to
terrible,
pull a game
painful
out
looking.
and pop it back in its
Oh,
place.
just like...
Some people don't mind owning the disc without the cases. Yeah, sure, I don't mind living without breathing. Might as well make a sandwich with these things if you're that opposed to
Oh
taking care
no,
of them.
don't
Like
do
I said,
that.
it's
Oh,
up to
it's
the
right, it's
collector
Call
what
of
they
Duty.
want is acceptable in
Fuck
their
Call of
collection.
Duty.
And me personally, I don't mind if the instruction manual is missing or something, but if the game originally came in a plastic case, not a cardboard
Yeah.
box or something,
I wasn't offended.
it
It's Call of
needs
Duty.
to
It's
be in
fine.
the plastic case.
They can go fuck
it
themselves.
needs to have the original artwork. I have nightmares about the fact this is what my copy of GTA 2 looks
GTA
like.
2.
And really, that brings us to the problems
Christ, the first
associated with
GTA
video
on
game
PlayStation.
collecting. Really, the fact
The
that I'm
graphics.
so frugal about how my video games look on a shelf, I'm shocked I made it this far in life. I love collecting and having this giant wall of garbage, but I kind of miss the simplicity of the smaller game collections. Yeah, you don't have as many games to play, but those games were your games. You have a bit of an attachment to the small library you own. Even if you have a few duds, you still played them for all they were worth. Now it's like, yeah, I own Brutal Paws of Fury. I'm not the man I want to be. So much space is taken up by these things. And sometimes I look outside and see all the kids playing with their Xbox Ones where all the games are digitally stored on the hard drive. And owning digital games used to be an absolutely disgusting thought. No way I want the box, the case, the artwork. But as the years go on, it's more and more appealing. It's nice to have everything you want on one console. You don't need to go rummaging
but
around
the problem
for
with
disc.
that is that there's
Sure,
no
there are
resale
tons of
value.
negatives with digital content.
You're just borrowing the
Many
game
times,
digitally.
I'll gladly take convenience over the principle of owning the physical game.
But if
I used to
you
want
have
to
the
own a
physical game, you
version
can
of
sell it
every
and
game
get
I
your money
play.
back.
Now,
Well,
while I
most
like
half
that,
your money back at least.
it's not as big of a deal.
Oh,
to me.
Bioshock.
I'm kind of like, yeah, if I want to pick it up someday, the physical copy will
Bioshock
always be
Infinite.
floating around on
That's
eBay.
good.
I'm in no rush. And that's a thought I've had a lot
That's
lately.
Zelda and Nintendo,
Yeah, I
from
do have this
Nintendo
feeling of
64.
preservation when I'm collecting these games. But who am I kidding? I don't think there's any one-of-a-kind items in my collection. Anything that gets released,
Sonic.
I don't need it right now when I officially really want
Genesis.
something.
That
I can
was
always
what
find it on eBay
Nintendo
most of the
built.
time, no problem. The price may be lower, the price may be higher. If it's higher, well, that's my fault, but eventually I'll find it at a decent price. And that's the case with most games I
Taxi,
kinda want,
I
not
believe this
really
was
want.
Crazy
I don't
Driver
really
or
care about
something.
many one-of-a-kind items.
Crazy
Couple that with the
Taxi or
memories of a
something.
smaller game collection.
Was
and I honestly
Sega
wouldn't
game,
mind
I
selling
believe.
all of my games just to start collecting all over again from square one. Don't take that as I don't feel any connection to these games. I don't care about these things anymore or anything. It's just those first few years of collecting were so much fun. They were exciting. It was great picking up games I always wanted for the first time ever.
yes.
And
I miss
considering
game
all the games I
collecting.
own can just be rebought all over again, I think it may be kind of fun to start all over from scratch. Sure, I'd probably keep a few things like Mario Galaxy. This was my original copy. That would be like me spitting in 10-year-old me's face if I sold it. But collecting was and is such a fun time that I wouldn't mind doing it all over again. Game collecting's a fun hobby to get into, and I really hope I inspired somebody out there who's lonely to become lonely and in debt. I think the only thing left to do is to go through my favorite things in the collection. The Super Smash Bros. Ultimate Special Edition. This is a nice fat little box. I love adjectives in this too. The entirety of my Wii U collection. I have one of the last major releases being Axiom Verge and some of the more rare games like Mario and Sonic at the Rio 2016 Olympic Games, Wii Sports Club, and of course Hello Kitty Cruisers. Fun
Hello
fact,
Kitty
this game is
Cruisers.
bad.
We dare! Never thought I'd own a copy.
The
We
Super
dare.
Mario All-Stars Collector's Edition on
25
the Wii. I always wanted this ever since it released back in
anniversary
2010, and it was
Mario
a joy
All-Stars
seeing it go from
Wii.
$70
Christ,
to $20
I remember
after it got
that.
re-released. The Wii Sports Nintendo Selects re-release. This is actually really cool because in North America, this is the only way to get Wii Sports in a full official case because it usually got bundled in with consoles in this little sleeve. I remember actually printing off my own Wii Sports case, so to get a full official one is magical. Just Dance 2020 on the Wii and Just Dance 2019 on the Wii U. I love this because this came out on the Wii and not the Wii U, and this was the final Just Dance on the Wii U. This was one of the highlights of living in the year 2019. Chibi Robo on the GameCube. This is one of the
Chibi
pricier titles I own, but
Robo?
it's all worth it because it's Chibi Robo. GameCube demo discs I would play on a kiosk at a Walmart.
Oh
or something.
yes, demo
I have
discs.
always wanted to feel like a Walmart. Bioshock Infinite.
Bioshock
I just have a lot of
Infinite,
fun
one of the
memories with
best
this one.
Bioshock
You know those
games
games
ever.
that once you're done with all your responsibilities for the day, you just
Christ,
run
I
home
played the
to
shit
play
out of
through the game.
Bioshock Infinite.
That was Infinite for a good few days. Bioshock and Oblivion combo pack.
Give us
I
the
didn't
girl
know
and
this
wipe
existed
away
until
the
I saw it
debts.
for sale. I had to get it because I've never seen it before. FIFA 13. This game hit
Oh,
it
fuck
big
it, throw
back
it in the
high
bin.
school. Everybody was playing it. It was a huge deal.
I'm
I
not
just
into
wanted to feel like
FIFA.
I was a part of the craze, so I ended up buying it 3 months ago. Grand Theft Auto San Andreas for the 360. This is such an
Gears of
oddball
War,
release.
Gears of
Just
War
the fact
2,
that they
Gears of
had
War
to
3.
re-release
Yeah, I
it in
see
the
that in the
Platinum Hits
background.
casing makes me feel like I never want to look at it again, but it's San Andreas, and it's running on the 360 in HD. Just the fact that they re-released this with no indication that it wasn't a new 360 game by saying it's San Andreas HD or something and just acting like this was a 360 game all along is very interesting. Devil May Cry 5th Anniversary Collection is literally just a
Oh, he's got the
bundle of
thing,
all
the
three
Xbox
Devil May
original
Cries
game. I was
on the
about to
PS2.
mention that,
I
to
just
see if
found
he's
it
got that.
interesting that
Oh, he's
they
got
tried to
Time Splitters
celebrate
as
the
well.
5th anniversary or
Oh,
something.
sweet baby Jesus, now you're
5 years
talking.
is nothing.
You see that game right there,
FIFA
the thing?
14 on the PS2.
He's covering it up
I
with his
dislike
fucking
how
head.
this
Move.
exists.
Sonic Jam on the Sega Saturn. This was my first Sega Saturn game. And
Absolutely
it's
love
too.
that game for the
This is
Xbox
such a
original,
cool,
The
obscure
Thing.
Sonic game. It's a
Absolutely
compilation of
amazing
Sonic
game.
1, 2,
They should
3
remaster
Knuckles,
that
and
game
there's a
or
3D
remake it
overworld you can explore,
for 2020.
And it compiles all these commercials and artwork.
Incredible
It's
game.
amazing. Tetris Attack
Clunky,
on the Super
outdated,
Nintendo. Tetris
but
Attack is quite
for
possibly
today's
my favorite
standards,
Super
but
Nintendo
a
game
good
of all
game.
time. Moving on. Tetris. It's Tetris. You have Tengen Tetris, which is a rare version of Tetris that was an unlicensed NES game. This is a much better version of Tetris than the official Nintendo released one. Mega Man 6, this was one of my first big NES splurges at the time. This was only around 40 bucks, so nothing crazy, but this is honestly one of the coolest Mega Man releases on the original NES. They actually did a lot to mix this one up compared to the first 5 titles, and it was originally published by Nintendo. That's fun.
Surprised you haven't got
Castlevania
Guitar Hero.
Bloodlines, this
Where's
was
your
another
guitar?
splurgy
Guitar
one,
Hero.
nearing the $100 mark. Not necessarily proud of that, but this was only released on the Genesis. I couldn't buy it anywhere else, and then Konami decided in 2019 to re-release it on every platform. Comic Zone is really fun. 100
Jesus.
classic books for the
Damn it,
Nintendo
you.
DS. The nerve of Nintendo for taking advantage of public domain books to turn the DS into an e-reader. I have an e-reader. Nintendo 3DS Guide The Louvre. I got really weird on eBay one night and bought this. This was only available at the Louvre gift shop and is a virtual tour of the museum. There's definitely more, especially in the closet, but it doesn't matter because we've reached one of my favorite parts of the collection.
Okay.
The hairdryer box.
Hairdryer box. Come on. Oh boy. Okay, that's the end of the video. Yeah, that was inspiring. Honest to God, that was totally awesome. I want to start collecting games again because I've come to a point where I've watched so many people collect games now on YouTube for over the year. I've been doing reaction videos. And I'm feeling like maybe I should actually start doing game collections now. Maybe I should start collecting all my classic Nintendo 64 games that I used to play. I'm not going to just start buying every single game, you know, for the Nintendo 64. No, I'm going to buy the games that I used to play that are personal to me and all the games I used to play and enjoy. And then, you know, start from there. So for the Xbox original, for the Nintendo 64, for the NES, I'm gonna buy all the games I used to play as a child, and from now and stuff like that, and the GameCube as well. There's so many consoles, but yeah, totally awesome. Lots of games he has. I mean, I feel like I should start game collecting again. But yeah, I used to be a game collector, you know, ages ago in like 2005, 2006, probably even 2004. I can't remember when I did. But I started collecting games for the Xbox original, for the Xbox 360, for the GameCube, for the NES, for Sega. I mean, hell, I remember like Chuck Rock or something like that. I remember having the game Chuck Rock or something. I can't remember what game that was. That was the most weirdest game I ever played. It was like Chuck Rock or something. But yeah, I had so many games, and what I can do is I can include my game collection down below. In the video description, I believe. I'll do that, and I'll show you an old video. The video I'm showing you was an old video. You know, it was back in 2004, 2005 or something, or 2006. So yeah, it's not recent. It's a very old video. Unfortunately, that when I did game collect, I really didn't document it a lot. I didn't take pictures of my Sega collection, my GameCube collection. I only was able to salvage footage for my Xbox original and Xbox 360 collection, unfortunately. I'm still looking for my GameCube collection and my NES collection, but it's really hard to salvage these these videos because they are so old, and it was a very long time ago, and most of them were filmed on a cassette VHS camera, you know. Before some of them were, you know, on a VHS tape. They weren't digital back then. So yeah, some of them go way back. But the thing is, like I said, I don't really have a lot of footage and a lot of you know, pictures and stuff like that of my game collection. Not everyone back in the day had a camera. If you wanted one, they were so fucking expensive, so you had to fucking rent one. But my parents were lucky to buy a VHS sort of cassette tape camera. Those things, Jesus Christ. But yeah, it had the glorious 240p or something like that. I don't even think it was like 480p. Jesus, it was just really weird. But yeah, I really do want to start game collecting again. This has just made me feel empty and hollow. I just wanna start buying some, you know, some games again. But the thing is, when I want to go buy some games on eBay, the prices are ridiculous. You know, I mean, I want to physically be able to go to a store and see and buy some games. Um, because some of the eBay prices, they know what they're selling. You know, they know what they're selling and they know what it's worth, and it could be a kick in the balls because you know, they sort of ante up the price, and it's kind of a shame because, you know, sometimes they're like $15 to $20 per game, and you expect them to be a little bit more cheaper, but they're not because they're in high demand and very popular. But yeah, totally awesome. I definitely need to get the Commodore 6, what was it, Commodore 64 or something like that. Christ, I can't remember. There was like another one. And then there was, yeah, the Atari. I'm gonna have to get that. I'm just gonna have to get every single console at first. That's what I'm gonna do. Maybe I'm gonna buy all the consoles first and then start collecting the games. Because that makes sense to have the console before you start buying the games. You know, it doesn't make sense to buy the games and not have the bloody console to play the games on. So the consoles first and then the games. I don't know. You know, I could tuck away some money and start collecting, start buying. And, you know, when I start buying, believe me, I start buying. I'm a major, you know, game collector. I collect digitally. I've got over about 7,000 Steam games at the moment. I've spent so fucking much money. And these are not cheap games. These are triple fucking A games and everything. These are the best of the best on Steam. Apart from Call of Duty, I've left out the Call of Duty franchise. I don't like Call of Duty. I'm sorry for those who are offended. But I hate fucking Call of Duty. I like some Call of Duty, like Call of Duty World at War and stuff like that. But I don't like the fact that Call of Duty is, you know, like 10 years later, the fucking game price hasn't changed one bit. I fucking hate Call of Duty, you know, I hate that shit. But yeah, I really should start game collecting again. I mean, it's sort of inspired me to start. Maybe I'm gonna start with Nintendo 64 and buy Mario Kart and Turok and Turok 2 Seeds of Evil, and, you know, just the Zelda games and just all sorts of lovely stuff. Yeah, I'm definitely gonna have to start collecting, and I'm gonna have to buy some shelves as well. Maybe fill out the background, that white background there, with games. And some posters and stuff. But yeah, if you like this video, make sure to give it a like, comment down below, and make sure to subscribe to my channel if you enjoy my content. I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.